The Joan Lok online workshop. We are meeting for the first time in 2021. So Happy New Year to everybody. As in all the other Zoom chat, I do it once a month, and you will see me talking to you here, but then occasionally I would look slightly to the side because I'm recording it, and I'm recording with a camcorder, but not via Zoom, because so when you are talking, you will not be on camera and then later find yourself in YouTube, because some people, may have a privacy concern. All right, so I will be talking to you and then to a little bit on the side. Initially, I thought if we don't have a lot of questions, then I will use today's sessions to talk about how to improve the workshop. But I do have a few questions, so let me try to answer it first, but let me admit more people. Oops. Okay, all right. I have Marty and Bill joining me, so hi, welcome. I want to take care of the questions that some of you have asked ahead of time. So the first question. In the last Zoom, I talked about using of the red paste that is under Saran wrap. But one of the questions that I got is, what with your red ink paste and you find out that it has dried out, what do I do with it has dried out? Let me see, where's the camera? Oh, right here. Okay, yeah. So when I talk about it, I talk about the composition of it, and it is not made of water-soluble things. It is actually made of, the solvent is castor oil, all right? And because it's castor oil, is actually, you cannot add water to it to try to dilute it or rehydrate it. It just would not work, all right? And so like technically, you can add castor oil to it, but then it's just like olive oil for cooking. Not all olive oil are created equal. Like just that they are cooking oil, you have virgin, extra virgin, and you have it from Italy, from Spain, some from, California, and they are all, very different. So I would probably say that these actually last a very long time. And with, unfortunately, they actually dried out. The first thing you do is usually they come with a little bone stick. And with it's really dried up, if you put the stamp there and then it looks like it's not picking up much of the paint, and it's just not having the imprint that you want, use this thing. And if you don't have it, if it doesn't come with a stick, just go to find a wooden chopsticks. But don't use a fork or a spoon, because usually they're made of metal. You don't use a metal thing. I'll probably say that if you go to a takeout restaurant, you will have a little piece of wooden chopsticks. I usually, because I have my own chopsticks and fork and cutlery at home, I usually save it, and then I use it for art supplies. But then, if you find a wooden stick or just find a toothpicks, just turn it, kind of like, let me see, where is it? Like. It's very, very sticky, but turn it, usually the oil settle on the bottom. So you can turn it and get the one on the bottom to the top. So it probably would be, like moist enough for you to make the imprint. But unfortunately, with, for example, like whatever long you have put it there and it's really, even you stir it, you do it, it's still very dried out. My advice is, don't bother trying to add some oil to it. It's probably the ink pad has outrun its useful life. You may want to invest in another container of red ink paste. And in the last chat, I talk about 3 different brands, and they are all very famous brands, very highly beloved by fellow artists in Asia. You know, like Chinese, Korean, Japanese artists use them. So I'll probably say that, you know, go to reputable art supply store, buy one that is the good size, and because they sell it by weight, you know, like how many grams. So the bigger one, of course, has more gram, and then it's just more expensive. But then buy one, and then when you get it, I'll probably say that do what I do, meaning that besides its original container, I actually add a Saran wrap to it. So I can ensure that the moisture is not really, because this is not airtight, you know. So I'll probably make sure that the moisture is not, you know, being evaporated, because I don't really use it every day. If you are like me, what I do is I paint and I paint and I paint, right? After I paint, then, you know, like I do not know whether it's a successful painting or not until maybe a day or even a week later when I look at it, and then I'm like, okay, there's nothing to add, or I'm really happy with it, so let me sign it. Because, you know, some people may come back to it after they sign it, but for me, after I sign it, I'm kind of like declare it done and I walk away. So when I sign, I will also put the seal. So usually what I do is I will save aside a day or an afternoon. Then I'll look at, you know, not really like 15, 20 paintings, but maybe at least 8 or 10, you know, like if you have created a bunch. Then I'll look at it individually and decide whether they are successful or not. And if I decided that, okay, I'm declared done, then I'll sign, seal, sign, seal, sign, seal. Because not only this, but when you use your seal, after you use it once, even you sign one painting, you want to use a paper towel or a tissue to really clean up all the little, you know, like peaks and valleys inside the seal. You don't want any of this to kind of stick in the seal and then dry, because I mean, for me, I don't use it for like another month or things like that. I really don't want it to make the seal dirty. And besides, you know, if you have like a box for your seal, you really don't want the box to get dirty too. So you have to clean it. And because of this reason, I usually sign in a bunch. So I have 4 or 5 of my favorite seal out. So when I chop, then I will clean it all in a bunch, and then I will reseal, kind of like cover my things in one shot, and then I'll put it away, and I probably won't touch it in like 2 for 3 weeks. And because it's not airtight, use a Saran wrap, and when the Saran wrap get dirty, then you throw it away. And of course, you know, if you have nicer brand, they not only come with the container, they even come with a really nice box. And you know, like, so you put it away, and if you invest in one of these, like this one, I think I have used it for 6 years, and it's still okay. And you know, like in the last Zoom chat, you know that I have many of this, and some of them I have it for more than 20 years, and they're still okay. So invest in one. With it dried out, you know, don't bother to, you know, try to like, you know, rehydrate it and things like that. It probably won't work. And if you put oil to it, it's very hard for you to really mix it well. Then when you put it on rice paper, you may have an oil ring. Then would ruin your artwork. So I'll probably say that with it really dried out, stir it up a little bit, but with really didn't work, just Google or, you know, go to your favorite art supplier and find a good one. And my suggestion is to actually invest in a decent brand, and you can use it for 10-15 years. All right. So any questions on that one? Okay. So my second question that I received is okay. In one of the Zoom chat, I talk about using this little container for storing the paint, and I already said that this is not for, I mean, you don't really use it as a palette, you use this as a source of the color. And I have a question on, you know, someone have bought this and want to know exactly how to use it. And of course, I mean, like, it is
Put
yours. So,
it to your right.
so usually, um, these are traditional one. So what people like to do is traditional sumi colors. They actually come in a little box, and they are called chips. They look like this. They're like a little bit. This one is, I think it's a burnt sienna. Okay, so they are little chips because what they are pigment grinded, and then they have a little bit of glue. They glue together and then dried up, and then they cut it into chips. And when you buy this from the art supply store, they have a little paper that wrapped it that say, you know, what color and how many. Also by weight, so how many grams and things like that. And then when you open it, it has, you know, like more paper, but then the little chips are inside. All right, the little chips are inside. And as I say, this is a brown one, and it has a few pieces. And what you do is, unless you are doing a very big painting and you think that you can use all of it, because for example, this is like 5 gram, 10 gram, or what have you, you only hydrate the amount of paint that you need. It's just like watercolor. When you squeeze it out from a tube, you cannot squeeze it, put it back into the tube, right? So you really want fresh paint, and because of that, you don't want to grease out a lot of the paint from a tube into your palette. So the same thing here. You don't want to, you know, like make all of them wet, because once they are wet, of course the glue and the pigment will be on the plate, but then the glue kind of, you know, like they get old. So you only want to hydrate the amount that you need, all right? The way to do it is, you know, like you have this, and what you do is this is what I usually do. This morning I actually put a little chip. This is when it's dry. This is a burnt sienna one, and this one is actually a Romanium. This is a kind of orange tone, and it's kind of the similar size, but you see it kind of like when you have water, it become bigger, right? And so what I did is I put. Let me do this. Okay, this is an empty plate. I put like 1 chip or maybe 2 chips, because 1 chip is not much. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a spray bottle, and I'm going to just put some water on it, and not a lot. Okay, if you put a lot, then the color is just become very diluted. So I will just spray 1 or 2 shot, and that's enough water. I just spray twice. That's it, right? Two little pieces of chips. And I think this morning, I think I only sprayed twice. And I'm not sure you can see it, but it's almost like a little sponge. It absorbed a lot of the moisture. And then what I have, which is then you use a brush, you stir the color. I usually don't use a good brush to stir it. What I did is I actually have a oil painting brush, because I like it being hot. The hair is stiff, right? So what I do is here. Okay. And this is just wetted this morning, but I didn't do anything to it. And I'm going to just, you touch it. Oops. See? You see the color coming out? Because the little chip has absorbed all the moisture. It's kind of softened, right? Then you can like get the color out. See? So here, see, I touch this, and the color come out right here. The color come out, right? So one thing that I want to say is, because these chips, when you try to get the color out, sometimes it may feel a little bit grainy. So I have even seen artists use like the mortar, and like just like when you're making spice, to grind it. And something like that. But you see, it's the little chips is still kind of stuck to my my little oil painting brush, but then the color came out, and it's pretty concentrated. For example, with like lately, I'm developing a workshop on daffodil, and then I'm doing the yellow tone, and on the accent color on the one for the cup, I like it to be more like an orangey tone, and this will be the source of my orange tone. All right, and you see how concentrated the color is. All right, and this is not ready. I mean, if I'm ready to paint, I will want to make sure that this little piece of the source of the color is completely diluted into this, and then if need be, I will spray a little bit more water to it, so it will become my my color source. But then you see how intense the color is. So this is how I'll do that, and so this is like the cooking show, where like you say you put it in the oven and then you take it out from the oven. This is like when everything is diluted and already in the little plate, and this is the orange tone, the vermilion. All right, and of course, and when you finish using it, this is a little cover. But as I say, this is not airtight. This is not airtight. So if you have it but don't use it for a while, I mean, they would still have a tendency to dry it up, and you will still. I mean, the way I do it, and instead of spooning any water to it, I would just spray it a little bit before I paint. Say, for example, I want to paint at 1 o'clock today, then instead of doing it at like 12:59, I'll probably plan ahead of time in the morning, or like at least half an hour before. I mean, I just spray, and then walk away. Let it kind of moisten a little bit, and then before I actually paint, I will use my hot hair brush or my oil painter brush, and I'll just stir each of the color to make sure that they are not dry, they are ready to pick up. Because if you see some of my demo, a lot of times I load 2-3 colors into the same brush, and then I want the mixing on the paper, so I touch, and the paint need to be ready to be picked up when I touch the color source. All right, so this is how I use the little plate. But as you see in some of my demo, these are kind of fancy things to do it, and a lot of times I have little soy sauce this instead. And lately, because I was trying to tidy up my studio, and I also find what we call a flower plate or a plum blossom plate that has like 5 of this together, like arranged like a plum blossom, and I just put color on it. And the advantage is then when I move my plate around, I can move 5 together, because the 5 is kind of stuck together like a little plum blossom plate. All right, okay, so that's how I do my little dish. Okay, any questions on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do you mix it with ink?
I look at this little plate as my color source. So as much as possible, I don't want to contaminate it. What I will do is I will mix on separate plate. So for example, with this is my sauce for yellow, orange, all right? And then I'm going to do a daffodil, and I want my palette to have yellow, and then on the tip has orange. I would touch yellow and then touch this. Or say, for example, with this is a braid of leaf, I want green, and after the green, I want the tip to have a little bit of ink. I will have this, and then I will have another sauce. I just use a different plate for my ink. This is my ink. It depends. If I grind my ink, it will be on the ink stone. But if I'm using bottle ink, this is my little plate for my bottle ink, which is actually just a color dish. I'm not sure I can tilt it. I don't want the ink to drop. But the only thing about this thing is because it has little corners, so I can rest my brush on it, and it also has a little flower, like a stem from the design, and I can rest my brush on it. I like it, so I use it for my ink. But basically, I have my ink sauce, and I have my color sauce, and the mixing of the color and the ink is actually on a plate. Because once you mix, it's contaminated. Of course, you are painting different blade of leaves, so you will continue to touch and add the black ink and things like that. But you want to have green sauce, really just green, not green and black, unless you are doing light, medium, dark for the green. Then the green is still the green, but then I will have two of this plate, or I have used two different corner. This will be the light green, this will be the dark green, and the light green will be just green and water, and the dark green will be water, green, and ink. And then when I'm going to reload, I'm going to touch this side instead of that side, and things like that. But then, as much as possible, my sauce, I don't want to contaminate it. All right. And another thing is, that's why I use little plate, and that's why I say, even you bought, say for example, you bought 10 grams, 15 grams of this. You don't want to make all 15 grams wet, because even if I say that I don't want to put ink in this, when I'm touching, picking up sauce, touching and painting, you will have some ink or other color introduced to this. If you have been painting, for example, grapes, blue and red, the red will get introduced to the blue, or the blue will get introduced to the red, because you keep kind of touching on every piece of grape that you're doing. And the same thing with leaves, right? And because of that, I don't have a lot here. And when I see that this become contaminated, hopefully it's around the end of my painting sessions. So when I start, I would just make new yellow or new color, right? And then, or if it gets really contaminated, it become, instead of a green, it actually become more an olive green, because I keep touching my yellow ochre, and then it just become more olive green instead of the green that I want. Then I'll just keep it as an olive green in my next session, or ideally with it have drawn down to the bottom, then I'll just wash it and I'll have a clean plate. And then next time when I start painting, I'll have fresh yellow, fresh orange, fresh green. Make sense? All right? Okay. So, any other questions? I think I heard.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Bill.
Okay. For the mixing, I have these that I get at the hardware store. They're very inexpensive. Get about 30 for a couple of dollars. And this part is aluminum, so if you let it sit for a while, it doesn't rust. And then the part you mentioned about the place to put your brush on your ink, white porcelain ashtrays. That's what I use in the place where the cigarette goes. So that's all I have to say.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the ashtray where the cigarette is. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I don't have ashtray in my house, but I do have a lot of soy sauce dish. So.
I got mine from a hotel once.
But you know what? I mean, that's the interesting thing. One time I actually made a statement that I say, when you're an artist, everything become art supplies, and it's true. And this one is, I think Winsor Newton will hate me, because this is actually a very nice Winsor Newton oil painting brush. But you don't need to buy a high quality brush. As far as this is hard, because that for Sume brush, this usually is very flexible, and you don't really want to use good brush for the mixing of color. You want it to be painting. So if you don't have this, or if you don't have any old brushes at home, either buy some old brushes, or just look through your supplies. Occasionally you will have brushes that lost some hair and is no longer deliver the work that you want. Then you just use it for mixing. All right. Any other questions on this segment? Okay. Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I make these. I'm a potter, so I make those.
Okay. Oh yeah. That look like an ashtray one. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question, Joan.
Yeah, I make those.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. And Carol?
Yes. When you're using the Western watercolors, like you referred to
Yes.
many times, all right, and I do Western watercolor, and of course I have a palette with all my colors out and everything. So, but I find that it's so hard when I'm transferring it over to rice paper or to an Asian painting. It's so hard to get the color from the dried watercolors.
Okay.
So when you put do you put the Western watercolor in the little cup and then maybe put a little water in it to smooth it out, or what? How do you use the Western watercolors?
For Western watercolor, which is, like if you see some of my workshop demo, I mean, they are mostly watercolor. They are not chips. I bought this a long, long time ago when I was, venturing into various things. And so I still have them, but these are not my go-to choice, okay? My go-to choice is actually Western watercolor, such as, Winsor Newton or some other brand. And it's the same thing here. I mean, I open it, I will squeeze it into my little, say for example, like a little dish. I'll squeeze a little bit into a little dish, and then I will do the same process. I'll use a little brush to make it into kind of like, so it's not like from a tube, not look like toothpaste. It will look like it's thick enough to pick up kind of the consistency of this. It's liquidy, but you can pick it up. See if we can see it. All right, it's liquidy, but you can pick it up. And then because I have little plate, so what I do is when I finish painting, I actually have kind of like a cover. I put all the dishes together, and then like a butcher's tray. I have a butcher tray's cover, so I just cover the whole thing. I mean, it's not airtight, so when you come back, if you haven't painted for a week, they will still dry out. I mean, even the best watercolor. And that's why I always say that don't buy student grade, buy higher grade watercolor. Because if it is a very good brand, say with this is that, the same thing here, this is same for watercolor artists. Before they paint, half an hour before, they use the spray bottle. Because, I mean, you can use, I mean, some people will just wet the brush and then just touch it. But then, when you touch it, then you pick up some color, you wasted it, And so you use a spray bottle, just moisten it, and then walk away, for half an hour and things like that. And then when you're ready to paint, before you do it, of course, make sure they all smooth out, then you can do it. But just in case with it really dried out, the same thing here, just allow it a little bit of time, because think about it, if you can rehydrate a chip that is dry as a rock, this is very tough. This is, if you can rehydrate this, you can rehydrate Western watercolor. The only thing is, the quality of watercolor is mainly, like the pigment and also the glue element. And for higher quality watercolor, the pigment are very good quality pigment. And then the glue element is also okay to kind of like when you put water to it, they can rehydrate a lot better than the student grade, because student grade has a lot of gum and other additives that is not the watercolor pigment. And then when you try to rehydrate, it kind of kick up, and especially if you have some student grade, like that elementary school use, student use, and when it dried up, even you spray water on it, it just look like a dry up tube. It just doesn't rehydrate. Okay. I get a warning that I'm close to my half hour. You guys have any more questions? Because I actually have one more things that I need to answer, but I'll probably save it for next week, next month. And I do have a question on timing. The first Saturday is usually what I do this. And first Saturday is on the 6th, and the second Saturday is on the 13th, and it's the second day of the Chinese New Year. So do you guys want to do it during the Chinese New Year or on the first one? The first or second one? And I was thinking, would we do it on the Chinese New Year day? Maybe instead of Q&A, maybe we'll do a little Chinese New Year celebration. Everybody wear something red, and we will, like maybe we'll I mean, I know that many of you have flower painter. May everybody bring a flower painting, and then we'll share what we painted to celebrate the new year with like flower painting and things like that.
I love the idea.
I think it's kind of cool.
All for it.
Yeah, for the next time we'll do it on the second day of the Chinese New Year. On the 13th, oh, by the way, the timing, is this too early for someone? Because I know that this could be, wet in the West Coast is early. But it's okay? Okay, so I won't change it. I actually have more questions on Kelly has a question. What animal? Animal is the year of the ox. Okay, water buffalo, ox, cow, like the same word, ox, all right? I need to close this soon, so thank you everybody for joining me, and I hope this is helpful. And if you have other questions, email me, I'll still try to answer it, but then next time it will be a New Year celebration. Okay, and then Happy New Year, Happy 2021 to everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you,
bye-bye.
Joan.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.